Would you describe yourself as mentally tough, as spiritually and emotionally strong? One way to know that is, how do you handle setbacks or the challenges in life? Recently, I was watching a video of David Goggins after reading his life story and understanding how and why he was so mentally tough. He had just broken his leg and he was actually working out in the gym. And the person interviewing him couldn't understand how he could push through so much pain. And it reminded me of a conversation that I had with my 25-year-old son. Over the next few moments, I want to share with you some of the challenges that my son went through over a 22-month period, beginning with the loss of his mother, and why he felt like giving up, and what I shared with him as a father. Let's dive right into it together. Sean Isaacs, the wisdom coach here, with a passion to help brand builders build strong marriages and family life so you don't destroy yourself, your wealth, and your relationships, which is happening every day. Setbacks, that's what we want to talk about for a moment. Let me tell you a little bit about my son. His name is Aaron. I asked him for permission to share this, and I want to share with you just 7 quick things that he went through over the last 22 months, beginning with the death of his mother. And this mother of Aaron battled cancer over a 20-year period 8 times. Aaron's mother died in 2021. That happened to be my late wife of a 27-year marriage. Aaron, as a military soldier, came home from Africa sometime late in 2022 and bought himself a brand new car. That car cost over $30,000. Within 4 months of buying that car, he got into a major car accident, which left the car so damaged that to this day we still don't know what the cost is to repair it. Why? Because some of the other challenges that came into Aaron's life was, we found out that because he was door dashing, that his insurance company, though under full coverage, would not cover the car. And DoorDash, because he was not actually delivering food at the time of the accident, would not cover the car. So that's 4 major challenges for him in a short period. And you'll understand why they're major. Now, before I come back to some of the other things that happened to my son Aaron, let me tell you what triggered this in addition to watching David Goggins' video. Well, we were having a conversation after Aaron had received the lawsuit from this particular accident, and that lawsuit came 4 to 5 months after the accident. He's unable to repair his car because the insurance company won't cover it. DoorDash won't cover it. He thinks that the person that he hit is fine because they were covered by their insurance, and he gets a lawsuit for $50,000, suing him and DoorDash for this car accident. By the way, the person that he hit, who got out the car, who said they were fine, who shook his hand, has outlined in the lawsuit that they have medical damages, and that's why the numbers for the lawsuit were so high. So I'm having a conversation with my son after he gets this lawsuit, and he says to me, "Dad, I don't understand. It seems like every time I start making progress to move forward, I have more setbacks." And I got to tell you, my heart sank for him because I've had a lot of these conversations with him over the last 22 months to learn about all the things he's facing. So his car is gone. He has no money to get it repaired, and he has to borrow his uncle's car. He borrows his uncle's car. That car has some problems after a few months. We find out later that it's just missing oil. And so I give Aaron one of my cars to drive. Hey, you can use this car until you save enough money to get your car repaired. Well, Aaron is out driving my car, which is paid off, and makes a right turn, and somehow he still to this day doesn't know why or how it happened. I'm not sure what happened. He turned into a parked car and ends up ends up hitting that car. From his perspective, it's not a big deal, Dad. The damage was not too bad. I spoke to the person. I told them if there's anything, let me know and I'll cover the car. No insurances have to be called. No problem. We call my insurance anyway. I think, okay, this is going to be a few $1,000s. The insurance company will cover it. I get a call about a week or two later, and they say, Mr. Isaacs, the car price to repair the car, the price to repair the car is $1,000 more than the car is worth. We're talking about 5 figures here. And so we're going to just total the car. So within a 22-month period, my son loses his mom, crashes his brand new car, somewhat totals it because we don't know the cost to repair it yet. His insurance company refuses to pay. DoorDash refuses to pay. He ends up running into some other challenges, which I don't get into, by the way. And he's a pretty good son, by the way, if some of this doesn't sound like it makes any sense. But what ends up happening, this car gets totaled, and this just brings him, after the lawsuit, to kind of the end of himself. And the words I said to Aaron that sparked the idea for this, that I think would be helpful to you, is this. You can choose to see setbacks as setbacks, or you can learn to see them as a benefit. Now, if you are in a family, and all of us are, one of the things that amplify family challenges are setbacks like the ones I've described. So I want to share with you 3 principles that I've learned over the years to use in the midst of the storms of life to help me get through setbacks. Number 1, I'm going to give them to you in 3 words. Learn, decide, and choose. Learn, decide, and choose. Let's dive right into them. Number 1, you need to learn to see your setbacks as ways to move you out of your comfort zone. Learn to see them as a way to move you out of your comfort zones. Now, in the case of my son, I said to him, he had just gotten a new job, probably about 3 or 4 months. He has no cap on his income because it's a sales position, which allows him to make as much money as his skills and his ability would allow him to produce. And so I said, son, you can look at your setbacks as setbacks, or you can look at this as a way to remove you or to move you out of your comfort zone. And I said, because you have an opportunity to make as much money as you desire, why don't you sit down, figure out how much money you need to come up with, and dial in at a higher level as a seller. Master the skill of selling so you can make more money. See, I think there are 3 things that makes a seller a good seller. Number 1 is belief. You got to have a strong belief in the product, the service. You got to believe that the customer is better off to do business with you. You got to believe in the company that you're working with. Number 2, attitude. Attitude is everything. A person who lacks skill and ability, even belief, with the right attitude, will still produce more results than someone with all the education, all the experience, and all the background. And then thirdly, obviously, is skill. Skill trumps everything, right? The more experience you have and the more skill you have, which is another word for wisdom, right? You'll be able to produce more results. So I encourage my son that what I've learned in life is many of us will do more for other people than we'll do for ourselves. In other words, before most people make more money for themselves, they'll make more money to pay the IRS. Right? If you got a lawsuit in the mail and you owe the IRS $1 million, let's say, the average person, if they have the right mindset, which is not average, I should say, will find ways to make more money to pay that than they would to fulfill their own dreams, their own vision. So one of the powerful things about setbacks is they can move you and I out of a comfort zone. Why? Because the scriptures say a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands. That's what brings poverty into a person's life. Spiritual, mental, emotional, psychological, relational, right? Financial, if I didn't mention that. Poverty is seen in many ways, and many of our families are impoverished. Our relationships are impoverished because we have not learned how to see setbacks, whether that's a car accident or it's a income issue. We've not learned to see it as a benefit. And so that's the first step in being able to find benefit from setbacks. Number one, learn to see your setbacks as ways to move you out of your comfort zone, right? Now you'll turn off the television, right? Now you'll stop wasting time doing things that have no either eternal value or no real benefit to your bottom line. Number two, more briefly, you will get benefit from setbacks if you decide not to waste your suffering. Decide not to waste your suffering. I learned this going through cancer 8 times with my late wife. After maybe the 5th or 6th time of dealing with cancer over that, let's call it 14 or 15-year period, totally 20 years, I said to her, you need to write your story. Why? I said, you don't want to waste your suffering. If you're going through this suffering anyway, why not turn it into something that could be a benefit to you, to others, and to your legacy? And I'm glad to tell you today that that book is now written. And you'll be able to buy her book by either November 1st or November 2nd, which would be a day from now or 2 days from now. The book is called My Faith Is Found a Resting Place. See, if you're going to go through suffering anyway, why waste your suffering? Why waste it complaining? Why waste it grumbling and saying, why is this happening to me? A better thing to do, in my opinion, is to choose not to waste your suffering. Decide, I'm not going to waste it. Suffering happens to everyone anyway, right? Job says, man that is born of woman, quote, is full of trouble. What does that mean? Every person that's born will face trouble in their life. So the first thing to do if you want to benefit from suffering, from trials, from challenges, the first thing you need to do is, number one, you need to learn to see them as ways to move you out of your comfort zone. Some people will never act until they have to. Number two, decide not to waste your suffering. You're going to suffer anyway. Why not turn it into a movie? Turn it into a podcast. Turn it into a YouTube brand or a book. Turn it into a course or something that can provide benefit to others. You know, Job suffered more than any other human being, I believe, on the planet, next to Christ, the Messiah. And what do we have? We have Job's book that has impacted the lives of millions of people. Though he lost his 10 children, lost his business, ended up with bankruptcy, boils, and bereavement, his suffering was not in vain. Thirdly, lastly, you need to choose to fill your heart with the virtue of hope. The virtue of hope. I said to my son, you need to expose yourself to stories. He had bought David Goggins' books and began to read them. I said, you need to go back and read David Goggins' books, right? There are a lot of people that, I'm going to say this to make my point, that worship the David Goggins that they see today. And by that I mean, they hold him in awe. They can't understand how he's able to do so much without being moved by pain and suffering. And the thing that baffles me about David Goggins, I said to my son, is David Goggins was not David Goggins until David Goggins decided to not murmur, complain about his suffering. He chose to embrace it and to become resilient. And I want to say to you, you're made in God's image. You have the ability to do the same thing. Every last one of us have in seed form that which can be fruit-bearing and fruitful in the lives of others and in our own lives. All right? So I didn't want to keep this video too long. Here is what I want to say to you as I wrap up. If this content is helpful to you, I'm going to encourage you to like, to share, and to comment. But more importantly, subscribe. Subscribe to the channel, right? Life often presents us with unexpected hurdles that can beat, right, or test our patience, our resilience, and our resolve. These setbacks can create frustration and deflate the hope we have for our family's future, hindering our ability to build strong relationships. I want to encourage you to not allow that to happen to you. I want to challenge you to choose, decide, and learn how to be benefited by setbacks. That's your choice and mine. I'm the Wisdom Coach. with a passion to help brand builders build strong marriages and family life so you stop destroying yourself, your wealth, and your relationships. Until next time, be blessed.